In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to animate a move from the KJ stick animation. And yes, of course, we'll be doing this on flipaclip.
最後だ。KJ の自由の型。平然爆弾。
Now, of course, it might practically be impossible to learn this in 10 minutes. But here's what we're going to do. I'll teach you how to animate the stoic bomb move in a simpler and more beginner-friendly way. The video will also be broken into several parts. First things first, I'll create a new project on my flipaclip. Select 24 frames per second and get ready to work. I'll turn on the onions and grid lines for this project. Now, just like I had mentioned earlier, I'll be breaking the video into 3 parts. The first part will be... First, I'll be drawing keyframes for the animation, and since the stoic bomb move has about 4 cut scenes, it might take quite some time to finish up. Alright, for the first cut, he does some sort of front flip while falling with speed. He then positions his body and accelerates downwards even faster. First things first, I'll animate him flipping down. This should take about 3 keyframes to achieve, nothing too serious. I'll animate his hands slowly coming together, since in the original KJ animation he folded his arms too. Once I've drawn his arms folded, the next thing is to animate him plunge downwards with speed. By doing this, he's gathering the momentum for the stoic bomb. I was having a little trouble drawing the legs. I guess animating with fingers on my device isn't too easy. Eventually, I got it right. In the next frame, I'll try to ease into the position. After that, it's on to the next cut. Looking back at my animation and the original one, I think I put the stickman at the wrong part of the screen. I'll fix that up and work on the next cut. I decided to add another frame before calling quits on this part of the animation. So far in keyframing, we've done the first cut. The second keyframe would be a short close-up cut of his face. I'll just draw a single frame of the close-up cut, nothing serious. Once I'm done, I move to the third cut. The next part was him falling downwards, and then this star-like object is shown with the flames bursting out from the bottom of his feet. This part could be tricky, so follow along with the tutorial. For this part, we'll ease in the motion. Then when it looks like it's about to come to a halt, he whooshes past the screen. Follow along with the time-lapse to get an idea of what I mean. Finally, at the last frame of this cut, he whooshes out. After this, the screen transitions to him slowing down at the point of impact. Remember, these are just keyframes. The in-betweens are to be added later on. Upon looking back at my animation and comparing to the original, I realized that the star-like animation was off, so I had to make some adjustments. If you're feeling lost at this point, let me catch you up with a little illustration. That's the cut we're trying to animate, but to show the intensity of the animation, we need to get the timing right. Now that we're on the same page, let's get back to the animation tutorial. For the sake of anyone trying to follow along, enjoy the short time-lapse animation. Shout out to one of my subscribers, Voivine, for guessing the tutorial right. I need everyone to go show him some love on his channel. Alright, for the next cut, the stickman is shown in slow motion as his legs make contact with the ground. This causes an explosion. It'll be animated on the last cut. About 3 keyframes would be okay for this part. After that, it'll be on to the last explosion cut. Before the explosion, at the point where the stickman makes contact with the ground, there's a burst of impact frames. For the sake of this video length, I won't be animating the impact frames. I'll just add a few keyframes. You can always check the channel for impact frame tutorials if you feel lost. Once I'm done with the impact frames, I'll move to animate the explosion on the final cut. As always, I've made tutorials on how to animate explosions, so if you're having troubles with it, just check out the tutorial playlist. I want to work on the next and final cut now, but first I'll draw a simple line background on a different layer. I'll add a little shaky ground effect to show the weight of the explosion. For the explosion, I'll use the ash color for the base dust explosion, and just for keyframes, I'll work on the explosion much later on. Again, for the sake of anyone following along, I'll show the time-lapse of the explosion effect. And if it's too complicated to follow along, be sure to check my tutorial playlist on how to animate explosions. Finally, I think we're done with the keyframing. It's time to get into the next part of the animation. Okay, we've finished with the keyframes. The next part of animation would be the Normally, I would have shown a time-lapse for the in-betweens, but I wouldn't want to bore you all with that. Plus, it would make the video a little too long, so I'll just fast forward to the next part, which is adding the For the effects, I'll work on the impact frames first. A quick 20-second time-lapse would be just fine. I don't want to make the video too long. The most important thing is that you follow the steps. And if you feel like you want to learn how to animate impact frames, just watch the video I made on it in the tutorials playlist. Alright, we're done with the impact frames effect. Let's do the wind and dust effects next. For this, I'll draw them on ones, and make sure to shake the stick figure up and down slightly to create the illusion of falling at high speed. As always, I'll increase the time-lapse speed so you don't get bored, but at least you understand the concept. Let's get this wind effect over with. I'll animate the smoke coming out of his leg as he descends. It foreshadows the fire effect that comes out of his leg as he falls at top speed. After adding the smoke effects at the important scenes, I animated the explosion as he lands. This animation took about 1 week because I was lazy. Anyways, here's the
KJ の20の型平然爆弾 KJ の20の型平然爆弾 KJ の20の型平然爆弾
Well, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it and want to see other videos like this, then smash the like button and check out other videos here.